What I think a great editor is really good at is taking away. You have a block of gold, but it's not saying anything. It's the sculptor's job to take away the unessentials. You let the statue become. It's the sculpting of what you have. That's a great example or analogy for a film. I challenge any director to take the same attitude he has for action and do a dialogue scene that way. You would never do it. It's like going on your honeymoon, man. If you don't bring magic with you, you ain't gonna find it on Tahiti. It's already gotta be there. You gotta have the magic with you. So what do editors have to do?
3, 2,
1.
Directors, we fall in love with our own work. An editor is trying to love your work as well, but he's also trying to push the story through. You'll constantly hear in the edit room, shouldn't that be a little longer? No, we got it. We want to get to the meat of the scene. I think that's where editors have a different vibe. I'm constantly amazed how, when they were written, certain scenes mean or were meant to say something, and how Evan can take them and mold them into something slightly different that keeps the pacing going, uplifts, accentuates something we're trying to say in the story.
welcome to the Continental.
There are magical cuts. You'd be surprised how much 3 frames can change a bit of choreography. It is a big deal. I do my pass, Evan does his pass. You'd be surprised how close we actually are in finding the frame.
For an action scene, there are a lot of considerations that go into where exactly I cut. I try to take each take as long as I can until something breaks. Try to find the best take from the best angle so I can see the action, see what's going on, really highlight all the sets, the choreography, the lighting, make sure that all the work that's gone into making this footage is actually seen, and then take that up until I need to cut.
You're always searching for the great frame, but it's pretty obvious where the shitty ones are. We have 19 little action set pieces throughout this thing. If you were off 3-4 frames on every edit, that changes not just the action sequence, or a fight, or a movie. It changes the movie. It matters a lot. Editing is meant to augment a good take, a bad take, or to bring something else out of it.
In an action scene, choosing the actual frame to cut on, it's not that hard. A lot of it is intuition of, okay, if I cut from here to there, am I seeing the same motion twice? Do I feel like this cut is bumping me?
There should be no bump. Bump is when you realize it's an edit. Meaning, are there missed frames? Do we jump sides? Is there a lot of editing? I try to make it as organic as I can naturally. I want you to feel like you are watching my cast member do an action sequence. I want you to feel organic. Evan's on super early. After 2 movies, he knows how I'm gonna shoot. He knows what the gags are. You get like the knife fight. It's a snowball fight with knives bouncing off people. He knows what we're trying to get.
If one of the triads is throwing a knife and it lands in between Keanu's legs, I want to be on the angle of Keanu where you see his eyes go like, oh, holy shit, knife just almost hit me in the balls. And then he picks it up and throws it. Then obviously you want to see the reverse of that, where you see where that knife goes and where it hits. And we will often do a cut that might work, but it's sort of right in line, and then ultimately go back and be like, you know what, I'd rather have the extra 5 seconds that it'll take to not bring the audience out with a bad cut.
That vibe could very easily have been lost, even in the footage I gave Evan. He could have cut back and forth and cut out the bouncing off. Heroes don't miss. Ours do. I love live performances. I love sitting in a theater. I love watching a dance performance. Most of the martial arts I choreograph are based on a dance-like structure. Sit back and watch the performance. Coming from a heavy martial art background, just sitting on the sides, I try to register through observation. At least my action editing theory and style is based on how you see it with your eye. If you go in to watch a dance performance or a musical or a ballet and just all of a sudden shift it because somebody fell down, or do you have somebody in front of your face going like this? I mean, that's the equivalent of fast editing. You're doing fast editing, it's a chaotic scene, the guy's not a fighter, and all this becomes a blur. You're trying to get what it's like to have somebody new that's never been in combat before thrown into chaos, and that's a great way to create that vibe.
Nice trick.
I approach certain action sequences from the standpoint of a choreographer. You have duets, you have solos. Most of John Wick has always been a solo. I wanted to do a duet. Through serendipitous events, we ended up, luckily, getting Halle to play Sophia in the film. This is all one take. There's another guy, sees this guy coming up, shoots him, and then from off camera, doggy one comes in, looks back, sees another guy, still in the same shot. Another doggy comes in, now in the same stuff, she walks forward, reveals the dog still attacking the guy, and revolves back. Once you get into action sequences, can you get lost in it? Yes, and sometimes we actually want you to get lost in it. Other times we want you to identify where you are. In the Riyadh here, I want you to understand what the geography is to a point. You can jump geographically and in the timeline. And then we get midway, we want you to get lost in it.
we get to do, our John Wick sort of signature of these, longer sections without also feeling like you've lost track of whichever character's not on screen.
You think, again, like playing with John Wick's going different angles, he's into long range to close quarter work. You think it's a bit of an action sequence, he throws this guy down, camera lifts up, exposes our first dog gag, it's our first edit, taking guys down, relieve our second dog gag. Oh look, and John Wick was waiting right there, he comes right in. Basically what you saw, even though there were 2 edits in it, was 1 take with 2 cameras. What's the worst place for a ninja to hide? Oh wait, let's do a glass house.
The constraints that this particular set piece places on them, that gives you an idea as an audience member of how our characters are going to have to adapt to the situation. We know that John is great with a gun. If we take that away from him because he can't shoot Zero through the glass, what does he do next?
And again, if you're going for power, at least you have a plan. You want to feel pain every time. How do you interpret that? Is it always on the impact of fist on body? Or is it on the actor's face? Or is it seeing both? That's a director and editor's decision on how to bring out performance. I want to get an organic performance. When he fights Chep and Yeon, the 2 smaller Sealot guys, so it's more whippy. The sound design, they have a higher whack, whack, whack. And he's hitting them, it's more thud, 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 big guy. But when he fights Boban, the much taller guy, Boban's a thud, 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 and Keanu's a whack, whack, whack. Those size gags don't work without the proper editing. And if it's choppy, 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 or I don't know what you're trying to tell me when I see that. You'd be surprised about how many practical visual effects are done with glass. Matte paintings, glass, reflection, refraction, and perspective changes. You see, we just came up with the ideas of how to hide with black, and we go in between this, and that's how just the reflections and refractions of light help hide different people. Which, in our John Wick world, reflection, 2 sides of everything, dichotomies are a big part of our storytelling. And for any of the shots here, you're hopefully seeing layers, and you're seeing how beautiful it can be. Sometimes the glass is bulletproof, sometimes it's sword-proof. We're not exactly adherent to physics, but hopefully it's fun.
If there's a particular moment where we need to make sure that you understand this glass is breaking or that we have cracked the glass, those are all instances where sound design becomes really important to establish what's actually happening on screen.
If editing is used as a creative tool, it's fantastic. But if you prep everything right and you do it right, then yeah, you can fuck it up in editing, but you have the choice to do something good in editing too. The scene's gotta be about more of just cool moves. It should be a look, a feel, a vibe. It's just like camera work. Great camera work plays. Great performances play. Cameramen do their job, cinematographer does his job, editor does his job. If you all work together, you're going to get something good. And sometimes I get stuck. And I know in my head it doesn't really work, and that's when I go to Evan.
What must be done?